to day one of the CareerBoost Initiative by the Instride Pathways Youth Foundation. The moderators set a positive tone, introducing two exceptional speakers who captivated the audience with their insights. These speakers shared valuable advice on career growth, the importance of personal branding, and navigating professional challenges. Their talks aimed to inspire and equip the participants with practical tools to kickstart and enhance their career journeys. Now, let's dive into the lectures.
My name is Ololade Adeshui, and I am very excited to be here with you guys today. I am a product designer. Basically, I would explain what that means. So, what I do mostly is I spend most of my time creating designs for apps, for websites, and other kinds of digital products that people use every day. So I would like to talk a little about my journey, how I became a designer. So I just realized that I liked how things looked on phones. I wanted to know how they even came up with all of those things. How did they come up with these websites? How did they come up with this app? And then I started looking into it, and so when I started learning about design, I was, just fascinated, like I said, by how a very well designed app could make my life as really easy. Do you understand? So I started thinking about it, the colors, the layout, all of those things basically. That was what led me into becoming a designer and now a product designer. Okay, before we start today's session, I want to say thank you to the people that organized this program that you're a part of. That's a CareerBoost Initiative for African youths. I want to say thank you to the Instride Pathways Foundation team for giving people like me the opportunity to also give back to people like you, right? The opportunity for you guys now to start exploring the world of tech, the world of, and in my case, where I'll be taking you guys UI UX design. So I want you guys to know that whether or not you already know about design before now, I am going to try my possible best to make sure that by the end of this session, right, design is going to be a career you would like to pursue. So I believe that this program is going to open up new possibilities for you guys. So yes, like I said, or like you can see from my slide, I am going to be taking you guys UI UX design. So again, my name is Ololade Adeshui, and I am going to be your facilitator for the UI UX design session. So we can begin. First things first, what is UI UX design? What is UI UX design? So I would first break down the terms UI, or the acronyms UI and UX. So UI is everything you can see on a screen physically. So when you open up your app, you open up a website, maybe your WhatsApp, your Facebook, maybe Jumia app, whatever app it is, whatever website it is that you open up on your device, whether on your laptop or on your phone, anything you can see physically is what we refer to as the user interface. That is the UI. So for instance, you're trying to play a game, maybe Candy Crush. You see every single thing, all the buttons you click on, those candies that you drag around on your screen. All of those things are the things that come together to make up the user interface. So yeah, like I wrote in my slide here, that user interface is the visual elements that you interact with in a digital product. By digital products now, I mean things like mobile apps, web apps. I mean things like websites. Anything you can interact with physically on your device is referred to as the interface, the user interface. So now I'll move on to UX. UX is how you feel. It focuses on how you feel when you are using a digital product. So if you're using maybe WhatsApp, for instance, how do you feel? That's what user experience. That's what it covers. So it covers questions like, are you enjoying the app? Are you finding it easy to navigate from one screen to another, from one page to another? Can you easily do this and that? Exactly. So you imagine you're trying to maybe shop on Jumia, and you are taking like forever to find what you want to buy, even in the first place. Then when you now finally find it again, for you to now check out, like for you to pay, is now a problem again, or it's very confusing. You don't even know what to do. By that point, you're already discouraged. Exactly. So that is a very poor user experience. I would have loved this session to be very interactive, where I would ask you like questions. For instance, now there is a question in my head I want to ask, like if anybody here can share their experience, like an experience where they found maybe a website or an app that was very, very enjoyable, something they really enjoyed, that was very interesting to them. So it could be a game app, could be a social media app for chatting, could be, if it's even a banking app, or if there's any app too that frustrated you so much, they're like, in fact, I am done. I would have loved to hear your opinions. Or should I just give maybe 5 minutes to you guys, and I would continue speaking after the 5 minutes? Yes. So I'm giving you 5 minutes. Maybe one or two people can share their experience where they enjoyed an app. Okay, so one person should share their experience with an app that they really, really love. They enjoyed from A to Z. They did not have any issues. And I would like another person to share their experience with maybe a website or an app that was frustrating them, that they were frustrated. Yeah, so 5 minutes, and it starts now. All right, so 5 minutes gone. I would be moving on into why UI UX matters. So now you already know that UI UX is user interface and user experience design. So why does this user interface and user experience design even matter? I'll start off by asking a question. Have you ever, like I asked earlier, have you ever used an app that was so confusing? Let's say a banking app. You want to send somebody money, and you kept trying to do everything. You don't even know which button you're supposed to click on to even log in before you can even start like sending money. But your money, all of the money you have in this life is in that particular bank, and you can't even navigate their app How are you going? And maybe you are at a restaurant, you just finished eating, and you want to pay. Imagine that kind of scenario. So that's how UI UX design impacts we as users. So when you say user, users are people like me, people like you that end up downloading the app, that end up visiting the website, that end up interacting with all of these digital platforms, right, or products, because in this case we are referring to digital products. So if you do a very good job with your UI UX design, it's you it's you basically make all of the difference with how people will enjoy your app and how effective it will now be. So if your app has a very great user experience, it will already ease people's mind, like, okay, worst comes to worst, it's probably a network issue. That's how much confidence they're going to have in your product, whether in your website, in your mobile app. That's how much confidence they're going to have in your product. So, for instance, look at Spotify for listening to music. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but yeah, Spotify is used for listening to music. So, Spotify is like a very simple app. You don't have to stress to figure out anything at all. So now imagine if you wanted to listen to a music and then you had to start doing the YDX, AB plus CD equal to WX. You would be like, nah, just to listen to one song, I don't want to go through that stress. So that's basically why your UI UX matters, because it impacts the experience of your users. So if your interface is confusing, it already like throws them off. Now, if your app has a like poor design, it will frustrate people to the point that they will stop using your product altogether. I know how many apps I have downloaded, and then when I'm like, no, you people are stressing me too much, I just uninstall and delete it from my device. Sometimes, depending on how angry the maybe app made me, I would go as far as deleting my account first before I uninstall and then delete the app. That's how much the user experience impacts people's opinions about your product. And imagine you've gone through all of that stress to design something, to put it up on Google Play Store or Apple Store, only for people to start saying things like, this app is trash. Have you gone through reviews on apps on the Play Stores? You be like, you see a lot of comments about how you guys should avoid these people, they are scammers. They might not necessarily be scammers, but because of the kind of experience that users have gotten while using that product, their only their first response is going to be, nah, these guys are either thieves or they are doing one shady thing in the background, because now you've given them a very confusing UX. And basically, as designers, our main goal in this, I don't want to say in this life, in this job or in this career path, is to ensure that people can use our designs easily and very happily. Like, you, anytime people use your designs, you want to see that, oh, there is joy on their faces. That's like the main goal of we designers. You want to make sure that out of 100 people that use your app or a website you design, at least the majority of them should be like, wow, this is amazing. I was able to sign up easily. I was able to do this and that quickly, easily, without stress. It was not confusing. Those are the kinds of like feedback you want to be getting from your users. And we'll get into a lot of all of these things later. So because I'm just trying to introduce what UI UX is to you, so that when we start the session itself proper, you guys will not be even confused, like, oh, we are talking about so many things, but I don't even know the full meaning of UI. I don't know the full meaning of UX. Exactly. So now, if anybody asks you what is UI, what is UX, I believe that you can give them that response. So yeah, I have said your UI UX is going to enhance your user satisfaction. So if people, like I said, if they are happy with your app, not only am I going to continue using that app or the website, I am also going to tell my friends about it. Like, oh, you guys will not believe I downloaded this app yesterday and it does this, it does that, it is so this, it is so that. Exactly. So now you are gathering a lot of loyal customers because of how superb your user experience was, or your user interface, or both was, right? And eventually, this would increase conversion rates and your sales. Like I said, happy users equals to more money. Because if you don't have people that are happy using your product, how do you plan to make money from that product that you've built? Exactly. Now, when you go through your UI UX processes properly, I will teach you guys about all of these processes. You can reduce development costs by identifying issues early enough. So, with UI UX, you know that this is the design part. We've not built the product yet. So before you now start writing, before you hand over the design to the people that will now start writing code, the code, you've already taken out the part of pushing a product that people will not like, because you've done all of the. Don't worry, that's why this session is here, for me to take you through all of the steps that you would need to cover to do proper UI UX design. And if your product is amazing, if it has good UI and good UX, your competition in the market, they will literally be shaking like, these people are taking their customers. Exactly. So that is how important UI UX design is in the what's it called, when it comes to designing, when it comes to products, digital products like your apps, your websites. Now I'm going to be talking about the core principles of UI UX design. So for UI UX design, user interface and user experience design, I would be talking about 5 principles. So we have the user-centered design, we have simplicity, we have consistency, we have feedback, and we have accessibility. I think I would be looking at accessibility at some point as an entire topic because of how important it is. But yeah, user-centered design. So this part, this UCD, shortened into UCD, is like it focuses on users' needs and their preferences. So now, when you're designing, you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the people you're designing for. You're trying to make sure that these people get the best experience possible. So you're not saying, oh, I am going to do this thing, this button, I am going to put it as red because red is my favorite color. No. What if your users, they don't like red? You don't want to make money. You want to do things that, or you are the one that love it, but the people you're designing for don't actually love it. It's not going to make sense. So yeah, user-centered design. You are focusing on the needs and the preferences of your users, not of yourself. Now, you don't matter and in the grand scheme of things as a designer. I mean, you're the one designing, but you are always putting your users at the center of everything. Any this design decision you're trying to make has to be centered around your users. Another core principle of UI UX design is simplicity. So one thing I have learned is that the cleaner your interface is, your design is, the easier it is for people to navigate through. You don't want to complicate things by making your designs look crowded, rowdy, and stuff, because you want the your users to easily so one of the things about UI UX design is that your design has to be usable. It has to be easy to use. People should download your app. People should visit your website and just easily navigate through. They don't need to carry a dictionary or encyclopedia trying to figure out what the designer was even talking about, or what do they even want them to do. So basically that's for simplicity. Another thing is you have to be consistent all through. You have to be consistent all through. So when you're designing, right, if you're going to use blue buttons for a particular section of your app, throughout that section, don't confuse your users. Stick to that color of button. If you are using a particular font, I always recommend 2 or maximum of 3 fonts when you're designing. I think that's also the standard. So always be consistent. Let your design look the same across the product. So you're not giving a playful vibe on page 1, then page 2 it's giving we are in the office serious business vibe, then page 3 it's giving we are in the church kind of vibe, page 4 is giving we're in the mosque. Your users start wondering, what exactly is this app about? What is this app for? What do they even do here? People are confusing me, and you don't want any of that to happen. The next thing is feedback. You want to make sure that you provide clear responses to every user action. So if your user, for instance, if let me use this thing as example. You see what happens when I hover on this button? It gives me like a feedback. It's telling me that if you click on this button, it's going to take you to the previous page. You click on this button, it's going to take you to the next page. I think there should be another. Okay, not here. There's usually another button, but you guys can't see it because it's cropped out. So it's that's like feedback. You have to be able to provide clear responses to your users' actions. So if I try to delete something, for instance, I'm sure you guys are familiar with maybe stuff like that. You want to delete, maybe you are trying to post your picture on Facebook, then in between you now just cancel. Facebook will ask you, should we help you save this thing as drafts? Exactly. So that is feedback. If you say yes, it will tell you, okay, saved as drafts. That's feedback. So imagine you are saying you are trying to save something as draft, but Facebook does not tell you whether or not it's saved as draft. You will keep trying it again with the mindset that, oh, this thing has not saved. But meanwhile, it has probably saved. But by the time you get feedback from the platform, you can already tell that, oh, okay, my picture has been saved as draft. Now let's move on to accessibility. This one is like an entire thing on its own. So we are going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it in one of the sessions, if I am not wrong. One of the sessions, yeah. I know that UI UX designer, we're taking 10 days. Yes, it's a 10-day session. So one of the sessions I am very sure we're talking about is accessibility in design. So basically, in summary, you're designing for everybody, people that have disability, partial disability, people that don't have at all. Everybody you're designing, you're making sure that it is inclusive enough for everybody. So that's like the core principles. Those are the core principles of UI UX design. Now, we have a particular process that you have to follow as a designer when you want to come up with your UI UX design. All right, so the first one is your research phase. Then you have to define your what's it called now, your sorry, you have the research, you have to define your process, you have to ideate, sorry, you have to define your problem, come up with your solutions. Then you have to also brainstorm possible solutions. Then you have to now start building the design itself that people can interact with. Then you have to test. I will talk about all of these things extensively in all of the other classes, all of the other sessions. So basically, the first part, research, that's user research. This is where you try to understand your users, try to understand what they need. The second part is user persona. It's the define stage where you start coming up with your target audience. Who are you even designing for? What do they really want? This kind of people, who are they? What is their age? What do they do? What are their needs? What are their hobbies? What are what are the things that are frustrating them, their pain points? Those are the things you are thinking about in the define stage. Then in the ideation stage, you're trying to come up with like possible solutions to all of the problems you've now realized based on your research and your user persona. So you're now trying to come up with solutions to those problems. Then once you've decided whether or not the solution is going to be a website, whether the solution is going to be a mobile app, whether the solution is going to be just even an email, once you've decided, you can now start trying to work on the designs. That's the prototyping stage. Start working on the design itself. We'll get to that point where you design too. Then after you have designed, you also need to get feedback from people. I would also talk extensively about that in one of our other classes. So you're going to gather feedback from your users, and then once you are done with all of this and you are like 98% sure that you've come up with a very usable product, you can now hand it over to your developers to write the code. That's the implementation stage where they write the code for the final product. Once the developers bring the products to life, is when it now goes on to maybe Google Play Store, or it goes on to web browsers like your Safari, your Chrome, and the likes. Then, even after your product launches, you as designers, you keep assessing and you keep improving. That's iteration. You continue to improve on the product. That's why if you check on maybe Google Play Store, or if you check the version of your app, you will see that it's not, most of your apps are like version 1.3.5, because they've made improvements on version 1, and then they've gotten to the point where it has now gotten to maybe 135 exactly. So that's a process we would follow in this UI UX design course. Um, we have some tools that you as designers, I'm saying designers now because I want to believe that at the end of this session, thanks to the CiAY team, I mean the Instride Pathway Foundation team, you guys are going to start working as like badass designers. So there are some tools you need to use. We have wireframing tools. I will explain, don't worry. All of these things I am talking about now, this is just like the introductory part. In our next class and in the coming sessions, you're going to look at each of these things in details, right? So we have wireframing, we have prototyping, we have user testing, we have analytics. So for wireframing, you can use tools like Miro, Balsamic, wireframe.cc. There are a bunch of them. There are many. So you can use any one. I think like I said, in one of our sessions we'll be doing wireframing. So we would explore some of these tools. We'll try out Miro, there's FigJam that you can use for wireframing. Then for your prototyping, you can use Figma, you can use Adobe XD, you can use Sketch. So, but in this class, in this session, we're going to be focusing on just Figma. But because of the similarities between each of the layouts, if you eventually, once you master Figma, I believe you should be able to use Adobe XD and Sketch. Then for user testing, we use platforms, softwares called like Hotjar. You can use user testing. There is Maze. So there are a lot of them like that that you can use. And then for analytics to get insights on maybe how many users do this, how many users do that, how many of your customers do this, how many of your customers do that. You can use platforms like Google Analytics. You can also use Mixpanel. So those are like the essential tools we would be using in this program, in this session. Now, there are some common UX there are some common UI UX mistakes that people make that I would want you guys to avoid. Remember earlier, I said that one of the core principles of UI UX design is simplicity. Clean designs always tend to be easier to use. Emphasis on tend to be easier to use. So don't go and now design a very simple stuff that people will still be very confused. Exactly. So first thing to avoid is clustered interfaces. You don't want to pack so much information on one page that you confuse your users. You don't want that to happen. You also don't want to use inconsistent design elements like illustrations. If you want to stick to a particular pack, stick to a particular pack. If you're designing with icons from one pack, stick to that pack in your designs. Not that there's no way I would explain this that you guys would understand it now. When we get into all of that, when we start designing, when we do visual design basics or prototyping, I'll try to explain that. Then there are things like slow loading times. What causes slow loading times? When you start putting heavy files on your app or your website, and then it now causes your platform to be so slow that people will sit down looking at it like this. It's loading before they can perform one action. Because of the kind of heavy content you've added to your design, it now takes forever to load. Avoid that. Then you also always have to one thing I want you guys to always do when you design is to put into consideration people that will be using their phones. Imagine if Facebook tells you we don't have app for phones. It's only on your laptop you can use Facebook. I know there was a time that people used to go to cyber cafes to use Facebook, but then they realized that mobile devices are like on the go. You are always with your phone, and they want you to always use their app because they also always want to make money. Exactly. So they had to start thinking of putting it into a phone, and it happened. So always make sure that you design with mobile devices in mind at the end of the day. Then ignoring user feedback. If you don't want to design, then show your potential users, then they tell you, oh, this thing, I don't understand it, this thing is confusing me, and you don't now do anything about it. That's going to be very wrong. So anytime you design and you get feedback from your users, always take it to the drawing board and then start all over again. Try to figure out how you can fix that issue. Try to figure out how you can make that thing better. Try to figure out how you can incorporate their feedback into your design. So those are like common UI UX design mistakes that I would really like you guys to avoid as you start your UI UX design what's it called now? UI UX design journey. I don't know if you guys have questions about about today's introductory session. If you do, please drop your questions. I would be glad to take them. All right, so basically, that wraps up today's session. Tomorrow, we will be looking into user research, and yeah, we would look into user research. So, see you guys tomorrow and have a very amazing day.
My name is Olaomi Olokode, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. I want to start by expressing my gratitude to Instride Pathways Youth Foundation for inviting me to speak at this significant event. This annual 30-day Career Boost Initiative is mind blowing, and the work that they're doing is really, applaudable, because not many people come together to bring this kind of initiative for youth and by youth. So it's a powerful platform, and I want to encourage you that everything you learn on this platform, you make it worthwhile, because trust me, it is premium, it is quality, it is all that you need for your career progression and getting clarity with all that you need to do. And so it's a powerful platform. I want to say thank you to Mr. Adeyinka for following me up and for making this a reality. So, without wasting much of your time, today we're going to be exploring a topic that is incredibly important, not just for healthcare workers or professionals, but for every single person. And the topic is universal healthcare, a realistic goal for global health equity. So, we're talking about global health equity. What exactly are we talking about? And this subject is one that affects every single person all around the world. And so it addresses the fundamental right of every human being. And what is this fundamental right that I'm talking about? This fundamental right is the right to healthcare, regardless of circumstance, socioeconomic status, finances, gender, whatsoever it might be. We want to make sure that they have access to healthcare. Now, what is equity? In this context, equity simply means fairness, justness, justice, whatever it is you call it. But making sure that everybody has the same access to the same set of things. Let's start by defining what I mean by universal healthcare, or UHC. UHC is the idea that everyone, everywhere, should have access to the health services that they need, when, where, and however they need the health services. And financial capabilities should not stand in the way of the ability to access this health care. Now, this includes a range of services. It includes preventive care to stop diseases before they start, curative services to treat illnesses, then rehabilitative services to help those recovering from serious conditions. And as well, we have palliative care that provides comfort to those who have life-threatening illnesses that has no cure. And so we want to manage them to ensure that they pass on without pain and in the best form possible. According to the WHO, that is the World Health Organization, the UHC was one of the targets set by the nations of the world when they adopted the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. The countries reaffirmed that health is a precondition for and an outcome, an indicator of the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. The way you know that a country is actually doing well is when its citizens are healthy. And when the citizens are healthy, they are able to go about their work, just bringing in more economy, increasing and enlarging the economy. And of course, they're able to tend to their environment because they are at the right frame of body and of the mind also. So universal health coverage is something that is very, very important. No wonder the nations, when they gathered, the United Nations brought it into the very core of the Sustainable Development Goals. The world is actually off track to make significant progress towards universal health coverage. This is why this topic at the moment is very vital, because everybody is needed to facilitate the implementation of universal health coverage. And although improvements has been happening here and there, but in 2015 there has been a stagnation that has occurred, and majorly it's because of the financial status of many countries and of course of individuals in those countries. And because of that, out of pocket health has increased. People, when they want to have their care, they end up spending the money they have at hand rather than having access to whatever service like this health coverage that the government can make available for them. And this pattern is been consistent across all regions and all countries. So nobody is exempted from this catastrophe. Another statistic given by the World Health Organization is that about 2 billion people are facing financial hardship, including 1 billion of them experiencing catastrophic out-of-pocket health spending. And about 344 million people are going deeper into extreme poverty due to health costs. Do you see why this topic is very essential? Because if people cannot afford to take care of their health, then it's as good as the world is crumbling before our very eyes. And that is why something must be done about it fast. Now, I want you to imagine a world where no one has to choose between paying for their health care and putting food on the table. That is the vision behind the universal health care coverage. And it has been very challenging, but you see, no matter what the circumstances might look like, it is very possible. Why is universal health care coverage so crucial for global equity? I told you earlier that equity in this context means fairness. It is about ensuring that everyone has the same opportunities to achieve their health potential, regardless of their social, economic, or geographical background. But sadly, the reality is that millions of people around the world do not have access to even the most basic health services. And this inequity is linked to poverty, discrimination, and weak health system. I personally experienced patients coming to the hospital having not a dime. Some of them want to put to bed, and the woman has been pregnant for 9 months, and they still do not have anything to take care of a baby and even go ahead with the delivery process. Thank God I work in a public hospital where Even when these kinds of things happen, there are systems in place to ensure that the the patient has access to immediate care such that they would be salvaged, their healthcare system or their healthcare condition will be salvaged firstly. Afterwards, they would then still go ahead to pay out of pocket. Even though here and there they're trying to cut down the cost, but you see, it is still not complete. But now imagine a place where this is not existent at all. Then you must know that it is a serious and a very crucial thing to address. Now, universal health care coverage can change that, can change these kinds of things, whereby it would ensure that everybody everywhere can access health services without having to be buoyant financially. So the universal health care coverage is a powerful tool to reduce health disparities and promote fairness. And so when we talk about global equity, we want a level playing field everywhere in the world where no one is discriminated and they have the opportunity to live a healthy life. That way, they can even give a shot at becoming, at climbing the ladder in their finances, in their social life, and with everything else they want to achieve in their lives. Talking about universal healthcare sounds very inspiring and looks like what the world needs, but you would agree with me that such a vision, yeah, achieving it on a global scale comes with its own challenges. Like I told you earlier, since 2015, the progress has been really slow. And so I'm going to be talking about a few challenges that faces universal healthcare and what can be done about it. There are majorly three challenges. The first is the financial challenge, the second is a political challenge, while the third is a challenge with developing formidable healthcare systems that can ensure that this service or this vision is properly executed. So, very quickly, let's talk about the first challenge. First, the financial challenge is a very crucial one because it looks as if it's the major problem, even though all these challenges are interwoven. One is not more important than the other. And you will see why I'm saying that. However, the financial challenge is the most obvious, the most glaring, what everybody can see and what everybody sees as the problem. So, in implementing universal healthcare, there's a need for significant investment in healthcare infrastructure, workforce, the services, just like as technology advances, all of the research that is carried out gets done because of massive financial investment. All the trials and the errors, all of these things cost money. And so many low income and middle income countries struggle with limited financial resources and they have competing priorities. People think that if you don't have food in our stomach, how can we be pursuing healthcare? Or if you're trying to achieve this and that, how can universal healthcare coverage be what we are thinking about? So usually for these countries, funding a project like universal health care can look like an irrelevant thing. Secondly, there are political challenges that stand in the way of the implementation of universal healthcare coverage. And healthcare is often a politically sensitive issue. In some countries, there may be resistance from powerful interest groups, such as private healthcare providers, who might fear losing profit under a universal system. And additionally, changes in government or policy direction can disrupt a long-term plan for healthcare. So generally, people may just stand up and silently begin to oppose the implementation of this kind of program. And finally, there's a challenge of building strong healthcare systems because even with the best of intentions and sufficient fundings, implementing universal healthcare coverage requires well-trained healthcare professionals, efficient supply chains, and effective management systems. You just don't want to put people in charge of these things that we end up mismanaging it or just turning all it all upside down. Many countries, especially in Africa, face shortages of healthcare professionals and lack the infrastructure needed to execute or carry out this plan efficiently. Because of the lack of infrastructure, they are unable to deliver care to everyone at every place. For example, people in the remote areas may not have access to this kind of care because of where they stay. Given these challenges, you might wonder, is universal healthcare a realistic goal? The answer is a resounding yes, but it requires a collective effort from everyone. That is why you are listening to what I'm sharing today, because you also have a role to play in its implementation. It will interest you to know that some countries have already made significant it will interest you to know that some countries have already made significant It will interest you to know that some countries have already made significant strides towards the implementation of universal healthcare coverage. Take Rwanda, for example. After the devastating genocide in the 90s, Rwanda made a remarkable recovery and now has one of the most successful universal healthcare systems in Africa. Through community-based health insurance and strong government commitment, Rwanda has managed to cover over 90% of its population with health services. That's amazing. This example shows us that with a strong leadership, political will, community engagement, and individual collaboration, universal health care is achievable even in the most resource limited settings. However, it is important to note that universal healthcare is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Each country must tailor its approach based on its unique problems. For example, the United Kingdom cannot be funding or pouring money into a malaria program. Places in Africa need that more. And so every country needs to check what is peculiar to their place and begin to provide solutions to those problems. Also, the fact that we all countries do not have access to the same kinds of resources, it is important that everyone can work with what they have to still further push the narrative or the plan for universal healthcare. So it means that while universal healthcare is realistic, the path to achieving it will look different for every nation. Now, let's talk about your role in all of this. What is the role of youth in promoting global health equity? As young people, whether you're in secondary school or tertiary institutions, you are the future leaders, policymakers, healthcare professionals, and advocates who will shape the world health systems. And in fact, some of you are already doing so. We have Gen Zs and millennials that are even in the place of authority and are making decisions every day. Our generation has the power to drive a change, to make a change, to give our voice, to ensure that this cause can be championed so that the boy in the village and the boy in the city can have access to the same kind of healthcare, giving everybody a fair chance at life and at success in whatever they decide to do. Every single person has the power to make a change, and it starts with you. You can start by educating yourself about the issues surrounding global health equity and universal health care. Get involved in community health initiatives, volunteer with organizations that are working to improve healthcare access. Use your voice to advocate for policies that support universal health care. In today's digital age, you can also leverage social media to raise awareness and build movement around these critical issues. All I'm just simply saying is don't sit back and fold your hands and think that some people somewhere will make it happen. Your voice counts. Your voice counts online, offline, in your engagement, and in everything that you dedicate yourself to. That ensures that this initiative or this plan or this system is properly implemented in your locality, in your state, and in your country at large. Remember, the journey to universal healthcare is not just about government, not about big organizations, it's not about every other person. It's firstly about you and me. It's about your passion, your innovation, and your determination to make real difference. And you can do that. And at the end of it all, you see that you can create a fairer and a healthier world for all. If there's anything that can put everybody on a pedestal of equity, it is universal healthcare. Once everybody has access to the same healthcare services, trust me, people's mind will open up. They will begin to produce better, and economy, socially, in every aspect of their lives, they will be able to function maximally. In conclusion, as you participate in the 30-day Career Boost Initiative, I challenge you to think deeply about how you can contribute to the goal of universal healthcare in your communities and beyond. What can you do today to ensure that in the future, everyone has access to the healthcare they need? Think about it. Take out time to brainstorm. What are the little things you can do from time to time? How can you use your education, your skills, and your networks to make a difference? This is what I want to challenge you to do. And I believe that I have smart minds in the building. So ensure that you give this a go, and trust me, your effort makes the difference. Thank you once again to InStrike Pathways Youth Foundation for organizing this event and giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. I am confident that the knowledge and experiences you gain during this 30-day program will empower you to take action in meaningful ways. I wish you all the best in your journey ahead. Together, we can achieve global health equity. It begins with you. Thank you for listening. And if you have any question, feel free to drop it in the comment section. And if you need to reach out to me, my contact details will be made available, and you can personally reach out to me for mentorship, for guidance, and for anything else you need to know concerning your health and you generally. So it's a pleasure having this conversation with you all. Thank you for having me, and have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, from wherever you're watching in the world. Bye.